I've been cleaning Olympic Medical Center for 6 years now. Night shift, which means I show up at 9 and work until dawn most days. The place is quiet after visiting hours end, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the squeak of my cartwheels on linoleum. I know every hallway, every supply closet, every weird stain that won't come out no matter what I try. Port Angeles shuts down at midnight. I mean really shuts down. Not in the normal way where bars close and people go home. It's different. At exactly 12:07 every night, the whole town goes dark and still for 12 minutes. Engines cut out. Lights die. Everything stops. Most people treat it like weather. Just part of living here. They plan around it. Get home before midnight or wait it out wherever you are. Don't talk about it much. I've heard maybe 3 real conversations about the shutdown in all my time here, and 2 of those were people arguing about whether it started at 12:06 or 12:07. It's 12:07, I'm sure. The hospital doesn't stop, obviously. Can't turn off ventilators or heart monitors because the town has its weird thing. But there are rules for staff. Jennifer Barnes made that clear my first week. Jennifer runs facilities management. She's the one who hired me, who checks my timesheets, who leaves notes when I miss a spot. 50-something, gray hair and a sharp bob, always wearing cardigans that look expensive. She doesn't smile much. Doesn't need to, I guess. First Monday I worked, she pulled me into her office around 8:30. The night shift was about to start. "You'll need to know about the shutdown," she said. No preamble, no checking if I already knew, just stated it. I nodded. I'd lived here 3 years by then. I knew. Between 12:07 and 12:19 a.m., you stay in the basement, she said. Lower level past the laundry room. There's a break area with a couch and a coffee maker. You wait there. Okay. Not the first floor, not the upper floors, the basement. She looked at me hard, making sure it landed. If you're on your rounds, you watch the time. You get downstairs by 12:05 at the latest. What happens if I don't? Her expression didn't change. Nothing good. That was it. She handed me my ID badge and a map of the building with my cleaning route highlighted in yellow. I've followed the rule ever since. I plan my nights around it. I start on the 4th floor right at 9. Work my way down. By 11:30, I'm finishing up the 1st floor. And by midnight, I'm already in the basement with my thermos of coffee and whatever book I grabbed that week. I sit on the brown couch that smells a little like mildew, and I wait. The lights stay on down there during the shutdown. I don't know why. Maybe it's the generators, maybe it's something else. I've never asked, but I can feel it when 12:07 hits. The air changes. Gets thinner, colder. The hum of the building shifts to a different pitch. Then, 12 minutes later, it all snaps back and I finish my shift. I'm good at routines, good at keeping my head down and doing the work. I don't test things anymore. Used to, though. I was 15, the first time I really felt the shutdown. I'd been living in Port Angeles for maybe 6 months, staying with my aunt after my mom died. She had a rental near downtown, one of those narrow 2-story places with aluminum siding and a carport that sagged on one side. Tommy Welch lived across the hall. Tommy was my age, skinny, always wearing beanies even in summer. He skateboarded everywhere, had that restless energy some kids get when they're bored and don't have anywhere to put it. We weren't close exactly, but we hung out. Played video games at his place, walked to the gas station for energy drinks, that kind of thing. One night in late September, we were out by the Little River Trail. There's a trailhead off Highway 101, just past the turnoff for the marina. During the day, it's fine. Families, joggers, people walking dogs. At night, it's different. Darker. The trees crowd in close, and the river sounds louder than it should. We'd gone out there because Tommy said he wanted to check out the old logging road that split off halfway through. I don't know why I went with him. Probably because I didn't have anything better to do. We didn't bring flashlights. Tommy said we didn't need them, that our eyes would adjust. That was stupid, but I didn't argue. We walked for maybe an hour, following the trail by moonlight and the faint glow from town behind us. The logging road was overgrown, just 2 tire ruts with weeds growing up the middle. We kicked at pine cones and talked about nothing. School, I think. A girl Tommy liked. I don't really remember. What I remember is checking my phone and seeing it was 11:58. We should head back, I said. Tommy shrugged. We've got time. Not much. It's fine. We're like 15 minutes from the road. I didn't think we were. The trail had more turns than I remembered, and we'd gone farther down the logging road than I'd realized, but Tommy was already walking, so I followed. By 12:03, we were still in the woods. The trail dumped us onto a gravel access road I didn't recognize, one that curved toward what I hoped was Highway 101. No streetlights, no houses, just gravel and trees pressing in on both sides. Tommy was walking faster now, not saying anything, but I could tell he was nervous. I was too. My aunt had been clear about the shutdown. Be inside, lock the doors, don't go out. She'd said it the same way Jennifer Barnes would later say it to me. Flat, certain, no room for questions. 12:05, 12:06. I could see my breath. It hadn't been cold before, but now it was. The kind of cold that doesn't make sense in September. 12:07. I heard it before I saw anything. Engines cutting out. There was a car somewhere, maybe on the highway, and its sound just stopped. Not faded, stopped. Then the hum of the electrical lines overhead went quiet, and the glow from town disappeared all at once. The only light left was the moon. It was almost full, bright enough to see the gravel and the edges of the trees. But the shadows were wrong. Thicker. They didn't move the way shadows should. Tommy stopped walking. So did I. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. I didn't hear anything. That was the problem. No wind, no river, no insects. The whole night had gone thin, hollow, empty. Then something shifted between the trees to our left. I turned my head toward it, tried to, but I couldn't look straight at it. My eyes slid off, like trying to focus on a floater in your vision. I'd see movement in my peripheral, a shape that didn't belong, but the second I turned to face it, there was nothing. Just trees, except I knew something was there. My chest felt tight. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Tommy was frozen next to me, his breathing fast and shallow. The shape moved again. Closer. I still couldn't see it directly. It was tall, I thought. Taller than a person. And it didn't walk. It just shifted. One moment farther away, the next moment closer, like frames skipping in a video. I kept my eyes forward. Didn't try to look at it anymore. That felt important somehow. Safer. I couldn't look at it directly. That was the thing. The only way to track it was to not try. I kept my eyes forward, maybe a little to the right, and watched the edges of my vision. That's how you see dim stars, too. Look straight at them and they disappear. Look away and they're there. The shape moved again. Closer, I think. Hard to say. It didn't cross distance the normal way. It just occupied a different spot, then another spot, skipping the space between. Tommy made a sound, not a word, just a choked noise in his throat. Then he ran. I heard his footsteps hit the gravel road, fast and stumbling at first, then finding rhythm. The sound got quieter. He didn't yell back for me, didn't say anything, just ran. I stood there, alone now. The shape was still in the trees to my left. I could feel it more than see it. The air around it felt wrong. Heavier, maybe, or thinner. I don't know. Both. I wanted to run too. Every part of me wanted to bolt after Tommy, catch up, not be alone out here with that thing. But the silence bothered me. The complete absence of sound except for Tommy's fading footsteps made running feel like the wrong move. like speed would draw attention, like movement was permission. So I walked. I kept my eyes forward and a little right, didn't turn my head toward where the shape had been, didn't look back, just walked at a normal pace, the same speed I'd use going home from school. My legs felt stiff, my chest was tight, but I kept the rhythm steady. The gravel crunched under my sneakers. That was the only sound now. Tommy's footsteps were gone. The thing in the trees didn't make noise, didn't breathe or shift branches or crack twigs. It was just there. And then, maybe, it wasn't. I couldn't tell. I didn't look to check. I walked for what felt like 20 minutes, but was probably 5. Time stretched out weird. The road curved and I recognized the bend. The trailhead wasn't far. Maybe another few minutes. The air changed at 12:19 a.m. I felt it happen. The cold thinned out. The pressure in my ears popped softly. Somewhere far off, a car engine turned over. The electrical hum from the power lines came back. The town's glow reappeared on the horizon. I still didn't run. I reached the trailhead at maybe 12:25 a.m. The parking area was empty. Tommy's bike was gone. He'd ridden home already. My bike was still there, lying on its side in the gravel where I'd dropped it. I picked it up and walked it to the road. Then I rode home. Slow. My legs were shaking, but I kept the pace normal. The streetlights were on. Most of them. The last one on our block, the one nearest my aunt's rental, was dark. It cut out during the shutdown sometimes and didn't always come back right away. Tommy's house was 3 doors down. His bedroom light was off. He was inside already. Safe. Probably. I put my bike in the carport and went in through the side door. My aunt was asleep. I didn't wake her. Didn't know what I'd say anyway. I didn't sleep that night. The next day at school, I saw Tommy in the hall before first period. His face was scratched. Not just 1 or 2 marks. His whole left cheek and the side of his jaw looked raw. Red lines, some of them deep enough they'd scabbed over. A few were still weeping. He was at his locker. I walked up. "What happened?" I said. He didn't look at me. Kept digging through his locker, moving books around. "Nothing," he said. "Your face. I fell. Off my bike." The scratches didn't look like pavement rash. They looked thin, deliberate, too even. "When?" I said. "Last night, riding home. After the trail." He stopped moving. His hand was on a math textbook, but he didn't pull it out. "Yeah," he said. "You ran," I said. "I didn't see you fall." It was after. On the road. He still wasn't looking at me. "Tommy, I don't want to talk about it." "Did it?" I said, "I don't want to talk about it." His voice was louder. A couple people in the hall glanced over. Tommy grabbed his math book, slammed his locker, and walked away. I tried again at lunch. Tommy was sitting with some skater kids near the vending machines. I sat down across from him. "Hey," I said. He looked at me. His eyes were tired. He hadn't slept either, probably. "We should talk about what happened," I said. Kept my voice low. The other kids weren't paying attention, but I didn't want them to. "Nothing happened," Tommy said. "Something did. I fell off my bike. That's it. The thing in the woods. There was nothing in the woods." One of the other kids, a guy named Ethan, looked over. "What woods?" "Nowhere," Tommy said. Fast. "He's talking about nothing." "Little river trail," I said. "Last night. We were out there during—" Tommy stood up. His chair scraped loud against the linoleum. "Shut up," he said. I blinked. Tommy didn't talk like that. Not to me. "I'm just saying we should—" I said, "Shut up." He left, grabbed his backpack and walked out of the cafeteria. Ethan and the other kids stared at me. "What's his problem?" Ethan said. I didn't answer. I tried one more time. After school. I caught Tommy in the parking lot before he could get on his bus. "I'm not letting this go," I said. You need to, Tommy said. Why? Because nothing happened. I fell. You went home. That's it. Your face. I told you I fell off my bike. A teacher walked past, Mrs. Halford, the English teacher. She glanced at Tommy's face, then at me, then kept walking. Didn't ask if he was okay. Didn't stop. That felt wrong. Did you tell anyone? I said. About the thing we saw? We didn't see anything. Tommy. Stop. His voice cracked. He looked scared, not angry. Scared. Just stop talking about it, he said. Please. The bus pulled up. Tommy got on. I stood there and watched it leave. That night my aunt asked if I'd heard about Tommy Welch. We were eating dinner. Spaghetti from a box. She worked at the front desk of a hotel downtown and she heard most of the town gossip. What about him? I said. He had an accident last night, she said. Fell off his bike pretty bad. Yeah, I saw. His mom said he's fine, just some scrapes. I pushed noodles around on my plate. Where'd he fall? I said. I don't know. Riding home, I think. From where? She looked at me. Why? Just wondering. Were you with him? No, I said. I don't know why I lied. It just came out. Good, she said. You know the rules. You don't go out during the shutdown. I know. She went back to eating. Didn't ask anything else. I brought it up once more. A week later. In history class. We had a project on local culture and I figured maybe I could work the shutdown into it. Ask some questions, get some answers that made sense. I raised my hand and asked Mr. Pittman if anyone knew why the shutdown happened. The room went quiet. Not the normal kind of quiet. The kind where everyone stops breathing. Mr. Pittman looked at me for a long moment. That's not part of the curriculum, he said. I know, but it happens every night. I thought maybe. It's not part of the curriculum, he said again, slower. Pick a different topic. But different topic, Leon. His voice had an edge. I'd never heard him sound like that before. He was usually pretty relaxed. Told bad jokes. Let us eat snacks in class. I didn't bring it up again. That's when I started noticing it. The way adults acted when anyone mentioned the shutdown. They didn't just avoid the subject. They shut it down, fast. Like talking about it was against some rule nobody had written down, but everyone knew. At the grocery store, I heard two women talking near the freezer section. One of them mentioned her husband's car dying at 12:07 a.m. and how he'd had to wait it out on the shoulder of Highway 101. The other woman touched her arm and shook her head. Just once. The first woman stopped talking. They both moved to a different aisle. On the bus, a kid asked the driver what happened to the engine during the shutdown. The driver didn't answer, didn't even acknowledge the question, just kept driving. At the library, I tried looking it up. History of Port Angeles, local phenomena, electrical anomalies. I found nothing. A librarian asked what I was researching. I told her. She suggested I focus on the timber industry instead, said there were better resources for that. It wasn't just avoidance, it was enforcement. The subject itself was forbidden territory. Tommy stopped talking to me entirely. We'd been friends for 6 months. Not super close, but we hung out. Rode bikes. Skated sometimes, even though I wasn't good at it. After that night, he acted like I didn't exist. Wouldn't look at me in the halls. Didn't return my calls. His mom told my aunt he was busy with other friends. The scratches on his face healed. Took about 2 weeks. Left faint scars along his jaw. Nobody asked about them. I graduated high school at 18, worked a few part-time jobs, grocery bagger, dishwasher at a diner off First Street. Nothing serious. My aunt said I should go to community college, but I didn't see the point. I was tired most of the time. Didn't sleep well. Hadn't since that night on the trail. When I was 22, the hospital posted a job opening. Night shift custodian. Full time. Benefits. The pay was okay. Not great, but okay. I applied because it paid. That's what I told myself. That's what I told my aunt. Really, I applied because night shift exhaustion doesn't raise questions. People expect you to look tired, expect you to be quiet and keep to yourself. Nobody wonders why you don't sleep right or why you flinch when the lights flicker. I got the job. Jennifer Barnes hired me. She ran facilities management, and she was the one who told me about the shutdown rule on my first day. Stay in the basement between 12:07 and 12:19 a.m. Don't be anywhere else. I asked what happens if I didn't follow the rule. She said, nothing good. I didn't push. I'd learned by then that pushing didn't work. Tommy moved away the year I turned 24. I heard about it from a guy I used to go to school with. Ran into him at a gas station. He mentioned Tommy had left town. Didn't say where. Didn't know why. I tried looking Tommy up online. Social media. Nothing. No profiles, no photos, no trace. I asked my aunt if she'd heard anything. She said the Welch family had moved a couple years back. Couldn't remember where, didn't think it mattered. I asked a few other people. Nobody seemed to remember Tommy clearly. They'd say his name sounded familiar, maybe, but they couldn't place him. One guy I showed a yearbook photo to said he didn't recognize him at all. We'd all had classes together. It felt like the town had erased him, not on purpose, not with effort. Just let him fade out until he'd never been there at all. I didn't have anyone to talk to about that night. Nobody who'd been there. Nobody who'd believe me. I carried it alone. A private burden. A thing I didn't talk about because talking about it broke the unspoken rule and got you shut down or forgotten. I kept working night shift, followed Jennifer's rule, stayed in the basement during the shutdown, felt the air change at 12:07 a.m. and waited for it to pass. Then I met Barbara Burke. She was an ER nurse. Worked late shifts, sometimes past midnight. I'd see her in the halls when I was cleaning. She'd nod. I'd nod back. We didn't talk much at first. One night I was cleaning the third-floor hallway near the reinforced doors, the ones that led to the old surgical wing. They were heavy. Steel core. Deadbolts on the outside. I'd always wondered why you'd bolt a door from the hallway side. Seemed backwards. Barbara walked past, heading toward the elevators. She stopped, looked at the doors, looked at me. "You know why those are reinforced," she said. I shook my head. "Same reason you stay in the basement," she said. She kept walking, didn't explain, didn't need to. That's when I knew she understood. Barbara and I didn't talk about the shutdown for another year after that comment about the reinforced doors. We'd nod when we passed each other. Sometimes she'd grab coffee in the basement break room during my shutdown wait, sit at the other table, not say much. Just her being there felt different. She knew. It was a Thursday in March when she actually said something. I was cleaning the third floor around 11:30, mopping near the old surgical wing, and she walked past carrying 2 styrofoam cups. Stopped. Handed me one. "You ever ask why?" she said. I figured she meant the shutdown. Jennifer told me not to. That's not what I asked. I took the coffee. It was still hot. Yeah, I asked. Nobody wanted to talk about it. She leaned against the wall, not like she was tired, just like she had time and was using it. My dad worked at the mill, back when it was still running. He told me once that some things don't need explaining because explaining makes people think they can change them. I waited. "The shutdown's old," she said. "Older than the hospital. Older than most of the buildings downtown. There was an agreement." "With who?" "Not who. What?" She looked at the reinforced doors. "Something lives here, in the area. Has for a long time. The shutdown's part of keeping it on a path, predictable, so it doesn't wander." I wanted to ask what wandered, but the way she said it made it clear she wasn't going to specify. "And if it wanders, then people go missing." She said it flat, clinical. My dad said the agreement was made back in the 1800s. Timber companies, native families, town council. Nobody writes it down. Nobody breaks it. You stay inside. You follow the rules. It moves through and keeps going. What happens if you don't stay inside? She looked at me for a long moment. Her eyes were calm, but there was something under it. Sympathy, maybe. You already know that part. I thought about Tommy's face. The scratches. Yeah. She finished her coffee, crushed the cup in one hand. The basement rule isn't Jennifer being controlling. It's the safest spot in the building. Generators keep the lights on, and it doesn't come down that far. Stays on the upper floors if it comes in at all. It comes into the hospital. Sometimes. She dropped the cup in my trash bag. Not often, but sometimes. That was it. She walked back toward the elevator and I kept mopping. I didn't ask for proof, didn't need to. What she said matched what I'd already seen. After that, we talked more. Not a lot, just enough. She'd mentioned things in passing, her dad's stories, patterns she'd noticed. I told her about Tommy eventually. She didn't act surprised. Isaac Guerrero and I went to the same high school, but didn't really talk much back then. He was a year ahead of me, played baseball, seemed like he had his life figured out. I ran into him at a gas station when I was 25. He was in uniform, Port Angeles PD. We did the whole, "Hey, how have you been" thing, and I mentioned I worked nights at the hospital. "That's rough," he said. Didn't mean the hours, meant the shutdown. I asked if he wanted to grab food sometime. He said, yeah. We met at the diner off First Street on a Sunday afternoon. I was off shift, he was off duty. We ordered burgers and didn't talk about much at first. Work, the town, how the Mariners were doing. Then I asked him if he'd ever worked a case tied to the shutdown. He stopped chewing, swallowed, took a drink of water. Why? Just wondering. He looked at me for a second, then put his burger down. Yeah, I've worked a few. What happens? They stall. He said it careful, cop, neutral. Every time. Someone goes missing during the 12 minutes, we file the report, we follow up, and the case just stops moving forward. Witnesses don't remember details. Evidence doesn't lead anywhere. Paperwork gets misfiled or sits on a desk until nobody's looking at it anymore. You think that's on purpose? I think the cases don't want to exist. He picked up a fry, didn't eat it. I had one last year. Guy didn't make it inside before 12:07. His wife called it in at 12:30. We found his car on Lauritsen Boulevard, driver's door open, engine cold. No blood, no signs of struggle, just gone. What did the report say? Voluntary missing person. Last I checked, the file's still open, but nobody's assigned to it. He ate the fry, finally. His wife moved to Seattle 2 months later. I don't think she even remembers calling us. I didn't say anything. I've seen 4 cases like that, Isaac said. Maybe 5. They all go the same way. It's not that we don't investigate. It's that the investigation stops mattering, like the town forgets on purpose. You ever try to push one through? Once. He looked tired. My sergeant told me to focus on cases that had a chance. That was it. I didn't push after that. We kept meeting up after that. Not often. Once a month, maybe. He'd tell me things he noticed. I'd tell him what Barbara said. We didn't call it investigating. It was just 2 people talking about something nobody else wanted to acknowledge. The storm hit on a Tuesday in November. Not a big one. Just enough wind and rain to make the power flicker around 11:45. I was on the 2nd floor finishing the east hallway when the lights cut out completely. Emergency backup kicked in after 3 seconds. The exit signs stayed lit, but half the overhead fixtures stayed dark. I heard Jennifer's voice from the stairwell before I saw her. Leon. I turned. She was coming up fast, flashlight in one hand, phone in the other. She looked annoyed, not worried, just annoyed. Generator's not engaging, she said. Maintenance can't get here until 1. I need you to go reset it manually. I checked my phone. 11:58. Now? Yes, now. She handed me the flashlight. It's in the shed behind the loading dock. There's a red switch on the left panel. Flip it down, wait 5 seconds, flip it back up. Simple. It's almost 12. I'm aware. She was already turning back toward the stairs. It'll take you 2 minutes. You'll be back inside by 12:05. Plenty of time. I wanted to say no. Wanted to tell her to wait until after 12:19. But she was already halfway down the stairs, and I'd never said no to Jennifer in 6 years. I went down to the first floor, cut through the storage corridor to the loading dock. The exterior door was heavy, metal, the kind that slammed shut on its own. I pushed it open and stepped outside at exactly 12:05. The air hit me first, cold, wet. The rain had stopped, but everything was dripping. The loading dock lights were out, but the street lights down the block were still on, enough to see by. I looked at the neighborhood past the parking lot. Curtains closed on every house. Porches dark, streets empty. It was a Tuesday night, not even that late, but the whole area looked abandoned. People knew. They were already inside. The generator shed was maybe 40 feet from the dock. Small metal building, painted gray, no windows. I could see it in the streetlight glow. I started walking. Told myself the rule was superstition. Barbara's dad's stories were just stories. The shutdown was some kind of electromagnetic thing, maybe military, maybe natural, but it wasn't something that hunted. My phone said 12:06. I walked faster. The shed door had a simple latch, no lock. I grabbed the handle and pulled. It stuck. I yanked harder. The metal groaned but didn't budge. Rust, maybe. Or the frame was warped from the weather. I braced my foot against the wall and pulled with both hands. The door jerked open. My phone flipped to 12:07 in my hand. Everything went dark in the same instant. Not gradual, not a fade, just gone. The streetlights died. The exit sign above the loading dock door cut out. Even the glow from downtown disappeared like someone had thrown a sheet over the whole city. The only light left was the moon. Thin, partial, not enough. I heard it then. From inside the loading dock. Metal pounding, fast, rhythmic. 3 beats, pause, 3 beats. Barbara. She was signaling me to run. I ran. The loading dock was maybe 50 yards from where I stood. Probably less. I'd walked that route 100 times carrying trash bags and pushing supply carts. I knew the distance. But when I started moving, the pavement stretched ahead of me wrong. The dock didn't get closer. The shed stayed small and far away. My legs pumped and my sneakers hit concrete, but the distance refused to shrink. I've never been a fast runner. Even in high school, I couldn't finish a mile without my lungs burning. But I wasn't slow either. 50 yards should have taken me maybe 10 seconds if I pushed hard. I ran for what felt like 30, and the dock was still ahead of me. The air was wrong, thinner. My chest pulled at nothing, and I couldn't get enough oxygen. The cold pressed down on my shoulders and the back of my neck. I kept my eyes forward, didn't look left or right, just focused on the shed's outline against the dark. Then something moved across the service road, low, fast. It cut between the dumpsters and the chain-link fence near the employee lot. I didn't see it clearly. Couldn't. My eyes tried to track it, but slid off the shape the same way they had in the woods 13 years ago. My body locked up mid-stride, not frozen exactly. I could still move, but something clamped down inside my chest and stomach. A need I didn't recognize. Not hunger, not fear. Something worse. It felt like wanting something I'd never wanted before and couldn't name. I forced myself to keep running. My legs felt heavy. The air tasted metallic. I tried to look at the thing directly, tried to focus on where it had crossed. Nothing. Just the dumpsters and fence and empty pavement. But in my peripheral vision it was there, shifting. Closer than it had been. My breath came fast and shallow. Behind me, metal rattled. The generator shed. I heard the door shake on its hinges, then a mechanical click, a deeper hum than the emergency lights. The kind of sound you feel in your ribs before you hear it. The generator started itself. For maybe 2 seconds, I thought the noise had scared it off. The hum cut through the silence and the air changed, got a little warmer, a little less empty. Then the hum shifted. It matched my breathing. I was pulling air in short gasps, and the generator's rhythm synced to it. In, out, in, out. The mechanical pulse followed my lungs exactly. When I held my breath for a second, the hum paused. When I exhaled, it dropped in pitch. I realized it wasn't the generator making that sound anymore. It was listening. Not to the noise around me, through me. Using the air I pulled in as a channel. I could feel it now. Not just in my peripheral vision, but inside my chest. In the space between breaths. It was paying attention to me in a way nothing ever had before. I stopped running. My legs wouldn't move. My hands were shaking. The need in my chest got stronger. It felt like I was supposed to turn around. Like I was supposed to look at it directly this time. I didn't. I kept my eyes on the dock, on the shed, on anything solid and real. The hum kept going, matching my breathing, matching my heartbeat now, too. I could feel it in my teeth. Then at exactly 12:19, the air popped. The pressure in my ears released. The hum from the real generator kicked in. Overhead, lights flickered once and came back on full. The service road looked normal, empty, just pavement and dumpsters and the chain-link fence. I stood there for maybe a minute, maybe longer. My legs felt like water. The generator shed door hung open. I walked over on shaky legs and looked inside. The red switch on the left panel was flipped up. Running position. I hadn't touched it. I closed the door and walked back inside. Barbara was in the second-floor hallway when I came up the stairs. She looked different. Not hurt, not scared, just older. Her face had the kind of tired you don't get back with sleep. The lines around her eyes were deeper. Her shoulders sagged in a way they hadn't an hour ago. She glanced at me. Didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't ask what happened. "Lights are back," she said. "Yeah." She nodded once and turned toward the nurse's station. Her steps were slower than usual, careful. She moved the way people do after car accidents, like their body didn't quite trust itself anymore. I wanted to ask if she'd felt it. If the 12 minutes had done something to her too. I didn't. I went back to the supply closet and got the mop I'd abandoned. My hands were still shaking. I finished the second floor. Didn't see Barbara again before my shift ended at 6. Isaac texted me at 5:43. "You off soon?" "Yeah, 6. Diner on First. Barbara's coming." He'd misspelled her name, but I knew who he meant. I didn't ask why, didn't ask how he knew to text me right then. I clocked out at 6:02 and drove to the diner in my old Civic. The engine sputtered twice before catching. The sky was that pale gray it gets before real dawn. Streets were empty except for a garbage truck on Lauridsen. The diner was the same one I'd worked at when I was 18. They still played 80s rock. Bon Jovi was on when I walked in. Barbara sat in a booth near the back. Isaac was across from her. They both had coffee already. I slid in next to Barbara. She didn't look at me. A waitress I didn't recognize brought me a cup without asking. "You okay?" Isaac asked. "Yeah." He didn't look convinced, but he didn't push. Barbara wrapped both hands around her mug. Her knuckles were pale. She stared at the table. "It came inside tonight," she said. Quiet, flat. Isaac looked at me. I nodded. "You saw it?" he asked. "No, felt it. Same as the woods." Barbara finally looked up. Her eyes were red, not like she'd been crying, like she hadn't blinked enough. "It's getting bolder," she said. Isaac leaned back against the vinyl booth. He was still in his uniform, probably hadn't gone home yet. I pulled some old files, he said. Went back further than I usually do. Found something from 1976. A ferry accident. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through something. Didn't show us the screen. The Port Angeles ferry to Victoria, he continued. It was called the Straight Runner. Left the dock at 11:45 one night in October. Never made it across. Barbara's hands tightened on her mug. Coast Guard found it 3 days later, Isaac said. Floating near Edda's Hook. Engine was fine. Hull was intact. No damage. But everyone on board was still there. Crew and passengers. 22 people total. Dead? I asked. No. Isaac set his phone down. Alive, walking around, responding to questions, but wrong. The waitress came by with a coffee pot. Isaac waved her off. She left without refilling anyone. Wrong how? Barbara asked. Isaac rubbed his jaw. He looked tired too. Maybe we all did. The report said they were dry. Not dehydrated. Dry. Like something had pulled all the moisture out of them but left them moving. Their eyes didn't blink right. They answered questions, but their voices sounded hollow. Empty. I thought about the shape in the service road, the way it had listened through me. What happened to them? I asked. They were taken to the hospital, Olympic Medical, same one you work at now. Isaac picked up his coffee but didn't drink. Most of them died within a week. The ones who didn't, the report stopped mentioning them after 2 weeks. No discharge paperwork, no death certificates. They just stop appearing in the records. Barbara closed her eyes. The shutdown started the week after the ferry was found, Isaac said. City Council held an emergency meeting. Closed session. No minutes recorded. But starting that next Monday, everything in town began stopping at 12:07. Every night. Exactly 12 minutes. An agreement, Barbara said. Not a question. Yeah. Isaac finally drank his coffee. That's what I think. Something was already here. Had been for a long time. But the ferry went out during the wrong 12 minutes. Crossed into something it shouldn't have. And after that, the town made it official. Gave it a schedule. A path. Kept it predictable so it wouldn't wander. I stared at my untouched coffee. The surface was still. No steam rising anymore. My father said the same thing, Barbara said. That it was older than the town, older than the timber mills. The native families knew about it, avoided certain areas at certain times. But when the town grew, when people started building and staying up late and driving through at all hours, it got harder to avoid. So they gave it the midnight hour, I said. 12 minutes of it, Isaac corrected. 12:07 to 12:19, every night. The town shuts down, stays inside, lets it move through. And most nights it does, moves through and keeps going and nobody gets hurt. Most nights, I repeated. Barbara opened her eyes. It's changing. I've felt it for the past year. It's not just moving through anymore. It's learning the routes, learning the buildings, learning us. I thought about the hum matching my breathing, the way it had synced to my heartbeat. It used me, I said. Tonight. It listened through me. I could feel it. Isaac leaned forward. What do you mean? I told them. The generator starting itself. The hum changing. The way it had followed my breathing like it was tuning into a frequency. Barbara's face went paler. It's adapting, she said quietly. Finding new ways in. Nobody spoke for a minute. The diner's cook clattered something in the kitchen. Bon Jovi faded out and Bryan Adams started. We can't keep following the same pattern, I said. They both looked at me. If it's learning the schedule, learning where we hide and when, then staying in the basement doesn't keep me safe anymore. It just makes me predictable. What are you suggesting? Isaac asked. His cop voice. Careful. I didn't know yet. Not exactly. But something had shifted tonight. The thing in the dark wasn't just passing through anymore. It was paying attention, and the more we followed the same routine, the more we gave it time to figure us out. We have to disrupt it, I said. Change the pattern. Do something it doesn't expect. Barbara shook her head slowly. That's dangerous. Staying predictable is dangerous, I said. It found me tonight even though I followed the rules, even though I was outside trying to fix the generator like I was supposed to. The rules don't protect us anymore. Isaac drummed his fingers on the table, thinking. He's right, he said finally. If it's adapting, if it's learning, then we're just giving it more data, more chances to figure out how we work. Barbara didn't respond. She stared at her coffee. Her hands had stopped shaking, but her face still carried that hollowed-out exhaustion. I don't know what disrupting it looks like, I admitted. But I know we can't keep doing the same thing and hope it loses interest. It's not losing interest. It's getting better at finding us. The waitress came back, asked if we wanted food. We all said no. She left the check and walked away. Isaac picked it up, pulled out his wallet. We'll figure something out, he said. But carefully. We don't know what happens if we push too hard. I thought about Tommy's scratches, the survivors from the ferry, the cases Isaac had worked where people just disappeared and the town forgot them. We knew exactly what happened if we pushed too hard, but I also knew what happened if we didn't push at all. Barbara handed me the radio 2 days after the diner. I was on my break, sitting in the basement at the usual table, drinking bad coffee from the machine that always smelled a little like burnt plastic. She walked in carrying a green canvas bag and sat down across from me without asking. This was my dad's, she said. She pulled out a NOAA weather radio, the kind you see in camping sections or emergency kits. Boxy olive drab plastic with a telescoping antenna and a dial on the front. It looked old, not broken old, just used for years old. It still works? I asked. Yeah? She set it on the table between us. He kept it in his truck when he worked nights at the mill. Said it helped him keep track. I picked it up, heavier than I expected. The antenna was loose in its socket like it had been pulled out and pushed back in 100 times. Keep track of what? Barbara looked at me with that steady nurse expression. The one that says she's not going to explain more than necessary because I should be able to figure it out. The shutdown, she said. It clicks, right before 12:07, every time. I turned the radio over in my hands. There was a sticker on the back, half peeled, that said Burke in faded Sharpie. How long before? Minute, maybe. Sometimes less. She pushed it toward me. You should have it. Barbara. I'm serious. Her voice dropped, quieter. After what happened with the generator, you need something that'll give you warning. Even just a few seconds. I didn't argue. I took the radio. That night I kept it in my cart next to the cleaning supplies. At 12:06 I was in the basement sitting at the table, staring at the radio on the metal surface in front of me. The second hand on the wall clock ticked forward. 58 seconds. 59. At 12:07 the radio clicked, sharp, metallic, like something inside the circuit snapping into place. 2 seconds later the air changed and the shutdown started. I picked up the radio and held it close to my ear. Static underneath, low and steady. But the click had been clear. Unmistakable. Barbara's dad had been right. Isaac called me 3 days later. I was at home, trying to sleep, not really succeeding. My phone buzzed on the nightstand and I picked it up without checking the screen. You awake? Isaac asked. Kind of. I got an idea. He paused. It's probably stupid. I sat up, rubbing my face. What kind of idea? The hospital has a helipad, 6th floor. Floodlights for night landings. I waited. What if we turn them on? Isaac said. During the shutdown, pointed at the service road. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. My brain was still half asleep and trying to catch up. You think light'll do something? I think we can't see it because it doesn't want to be seen. Isaac said. But if we hit it with enough light, real light, not just street lamps, maybe we force an outline, make it solid, break the advantage. I thought about the shape in the woods, the way my eyes slid off it, the way it moved without moving, closer and then farther, like frames skipping. You really think that'll work? No idea, Isaac said. But I can get roof access. I checked the schedule. Helipad's not in use this week. I stood up and walked to the window. My apartment faced the back lot, empty except for a dumpster and my Civic. When? I asked. Tomorrow night. Meet me at 11:30. Employee entrance. Barbara know about this? Not yet. Isaac's voice was careful. You think she should? I thought about Barbara's face in the diner, the pale knuckles around her mug, the flatness in her voice when she said it's getting bolder. Yeah, I said. She should. Barbara didn't try to talk us out of it. That surprised me a little. We met in the basement at 11:15 the next night. Isaac was in his uniform, off-duty, but still wearing it like he felt safer that way. Barbara sat with her hands folded on the table, listening while Isaac explained the plan. Helipad has 4 floods, he said, mounted on poles at each corner. They're designed to light the whole pad, but we can angle 2 of them toward the service road. Should cover most of the area behind the loading dock. And if it works? Barbara asked. Isaac looked at me, then back at her. Then we see it. Actually see it. And maybe that's enough. Enough for what? He didn't answer right away. I figured he didn't really know. None of us did. Enough to prove it's real, I said. Enough to know what we're dealing with. Barbara nodded slowly. She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small mag light, the kind that runs on 2 AA batteries, and set it on the table next to the No AA radio. Take this too, she said, just in case. Isaac picked it up, tested the switch. The beam was bright and focused. Thanks. Don't stay up there longer than you have to, Barbara said. She looked at me. And don't try to look at it directly, even if the light works. I won't. She didn't look convinced, but she didn't push it. We took the service stairs to the 6th floor at 11:45. Isaac had a keycard that opened the roof access door, the kind facilities and security carry. The door was heavy, steel core with a push bar on the inside and a sign that said, Authorized personnel only. Rooftop helipad. Isaac pushed it open and cold air hit us immediately. The helipad sat in the center of the roof, a big white circle with a yellow H painted in the middle. The floodlights were mounted on metal poles maybe 12 feet high, 1 at each corner of the pad. Thick power cables ran down the poles into junction boxes bolted to the roof surface. They on a switch? I asked. Yeah, over here. Isaac walked to the northwest corner where a gray electrical box was mounted on the exterior wall near the door. He flipped it open. Inside were 4 toggle switches labeled NW, NE, SW, SE. We want northwest and southwest. Those face the service road. I walked to the edge of the roof and looked down. 6 floors. The service road ran along the back of the building, the loading dock directly below and to the right. The generator shed past that. Street lamps along the employee lot were still on, throwing weak yellow light across the pavement. Isaac came up beside me. You good? Yeah. He checked his watch. 11:53. We got time, he said. I pulled the No-A radio out of my jacket pocket and turned it on. Static hissed softly. Isaac looked at it, then at me. Barbara's dad's? He asked. Yeah. He nodded, didn't ask anything else. We waited. The wind picked up a little, cold enough that I shoved my hands in my pockets. My breath came out in clouds. Isaac stood next to me, hands on the roof ledge, staring down at the service road like he was memorizing it. At 11:58, he pulled out his phone and set a timer. At 12:04, he walked back to the electrical box and put his hand on the first switch. At 12:06, the NOAA radio clicked. Sharp and clean, same as before. Isaac looked at me. I nodded. He held up his hand. 5 fingers. 4, 3, 2, 1. At exactly 12:07, the town went dark. Every street lamp, every window. The glow on the horizon from downtown, gone. The only light left was the moon, half full and pale, and the faint green glow from the exit sign inside the stairwell door. Isaac flipped both switches. The floodlights kicked on with a hard metallic clunk, and the service road exploded into light. Bright, harsh. White-yellow cones that hit the pavement and spread outward, sharp-edged and clean. The loading dock, the dumpsters, the generator shed, all of it suddenly visible, lit up like daytime. For a few seconds I thought we'd done it. I thought we'd proved it was nothing. Just fear, just shadows and old stories, and a town that believed in something that didn't exist. Then the light started to bend, not dim, not flicker, bend. The cones filled with something that looked like heat distortion rising off summer asphalt, rippling, drifting. Except the air was freezing and there was no heat source. I watched the distortion thicken, pulling into shapes that stacked on top of each other. Tall, taller than a person. Not one shape, but several, overlapping, shifting in and out of focus. Jesus, Isaac whispered. The shapes moved, not walked, just relocated the same way I remembered from the woods, closer than farther, frames skipping. Isaac grabbed his radio unit from his belt and keyed the mic. Dispatch, this is Unit 27, do you copy? The radio hissed. Not static, something else. The hiss carried a pattern, low and rhythmic, rising and falling, and I recognized it immediately. The same pattern the generator made, the same one that synced to my breathing. Hungry. Isaac's hand tightened on the radio. He keyed the mic again. Dispatch! The hiss rose in pitch, sharp enough that he jerked the unit away from his ear. I stared down at the service road. The shapes were multiplying. 4, 5, more. The floodlights didn't make them solid. They just filled the light, spreading through it, using it. We need to turn it off, I said. Isaac didn't move. He was staring at the shapes, face pale, radio still in his hand. Isaac. He blinked, looked at me. Turn it off, I said again. He moved toward the electrical box, but before he reached it, the shapes shifted. All at once. They turned. Or the distortion turned, I couldn't tell which, and started sliding toward the building, toward the roof, toward us. Isaac froze. I felt my legs lock up the same way they had in the woods, the same way they had outside the generator shed. The NOAA radio in my hand clicked again, sharp, sudden. The shapes recoiled. Not much, just a flicker, a hesitation. But I saw it. I looked down at the radio. The antenna was still loose in its socket, wobbling slightly in the wind. I grabbed it and yanked. It came free with a metallic scrape, 8 inches of telescoping steel. The shapes were closer now, maybe 20 feet from the building. Moving faster. I didn't think, I just moved. I ran to the roof ledge, leaned over and scraped the antenna hard against the metal railing. The sound was sharp and ugly. A rapid metallic screech, click, 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 fast and chaotic. The shapes stopped. They didn't retreat, just stopped. The distortion shivered, rippling harder like something inside it was trying to push through. I scraped the antenna again, faster, dragging it along the railing in short, jagged bursts. Click, 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 click. The shapes pulled back. Not far, just a few feet. But it was enough. Turn off the lights, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. Now. Isaac ran to the box and flipped both switches down. The floodlights died. Darkness swallowed the service road. I kept scraping the antenna against the railing, counting seconds in my head, waiting for 12:19, waiting for it to end. I scraped the antenna against the railing. Fast, short bursts. The sound cut through the cold, sharp metallic clicks that made my teeth hurt. The shapes pulled back, not far. Maybe 5 feet. The distortion shivered and bent but didn't disappear. Isaac was at the electrical box. I could hear him breathing hard. "Get Barbara inside," I said. Didn't yell, just said it. Isaac didn't move right away. I scraped the antenna again. 3 quick clicks. The shapes hesitated. "Now," I said. Isaac ran to Barbara. She was standing near the roof access door, both hands pressed flat against the wall beside it. Isaac grabbed her arm. She didn't pull away, but she didn't help either. He had to half-drag her to the door. I kept clicking. The rhythm didn't matter. Just the sound. Sharp and fast and metallic. Barbara went through the doorway. Isaac pushed her forward with one hand on her shoulder. She stumbled on the first step inside. I heard her catch herself against the wall. Isaac stayed in the doorway, one hand on the doorframe, looking at me. "Go," I said. He shook his head. "You first." The distortion moved closer. Not all at once. In that skipped frame way where it was 10 feet back and then suddenly 7. I scraped the antenna harder. The sound got louder. The shapes stopped again. "I'm holding the door," Isaac said. His voice was steady, cop calm. "You run, I'll close it after." I didn't argue. Couldn't waste the time. I backed toward the door, didn't turn around, kept my eyes forward, not on the shapes, just past them, scraped the antenna every few seconds. The distance to the door felt wrong. Too long. I'd only been standing maybe 15 feet from it, but each step backward didn't shrink the space. Isaac's hand stayed on the doorframe. "Keep moving." I was 5 feet away. Then 3. The distortions surged, all of them at once. The shapes collapsed inward and rushed forward in one thick, rippling mass that bent the air and made the moonlight twist. Isaac yanked me through the doorway. I hit the stairs hard, shoulder first. The Noe radio clattered down 2 steps and the antenna flew out of my hand. Isaac slammed the door. The first impact came before the lock even clicked. Heavy, patient, not frantic, just deliberate. Isaac threw the deadbolt. His hands were shaking, but he got it. Another impact. The door shuddered but held. "Go," Isaac said. He had both hands flat against the door now, bracing it. I grabbed the radio from the stairs, left the antenna. It had rolled into the corner and I couldn't reach it without going past Isaac. Barbara was already halfway down the first flight, moving slow, one hand on the railing. "Barbara," I said. She didn't look back. I went after her, grabbed her arm. She flinched but didn't pull away. Another impact from above, louder this time. The sound echoed down the stairwell. "We need to move," I said. Barbara nodded, started walking faster. I looked back. Isaac was still at the door, both hands pressed against it, shoulders tight. "Isaac, go," he said. Didn't turn around. "Get to the basement." Another impact. I pulled Barbara down the stairs. She stumbled once on the landing between 5th and 4th, but caught herself. We hit the 4th floor door. I pushed it open. The hallway was dark except for exit signs. Emergency lights were still on. Barbara stopped. "Isaac, he's coming," I said. Didn't know if that was true. Just said it. I pulled her toward the next stairwell, the main one, wider, faster. Behind us, another impact, farther away now, muffled by the door we'd just come through. We went down, 4th to 3rd, 3rd to 2nd. On the 2nd floor landing, Barbara stopped and wouldn't move. "He's not coming," she said. Flat, no emotion, just fact. "He will," I said. She looked at me, eyes red and dry. "He stayed." I didn't answer. Pulled her down the next flight. 1st floor, then basement. The basement stairwell door was heavier than the others. Steel core. I had to pull hard to get it open. The hallway on the other side was the laundry corridor. Long and narrow, windowless. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The air was hot and thick with bleach and fabric softener. Dryers were still running. The sound was loud and steady. I pulled Barbara inside and let the door close behind us. The impact stopped. We stood there, Barbara leaning against the wall, me holding the No AA radio with both hands. The dryers kept turning. The air stayed hot and chemical thick. I checked my phone. 12:14. 5 minutes left. Barbara slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, knees up, head back against the tile. I sat next to her. The floor was warm, vibrating slightly from the dryers. "He stayed," Barbara said again, not to me, just saying it. I didn't answer. At 12:19, the air changed. The pressure popped. The fluorescent lights flickered once and came back stronger. Barbara pulled out her phone, hands shaking. She called Isaac. It rang. I could hear it through her phone. 5 times. Then voicemail. She tried again. Same thing. She put the phone down, stared at the opposite wall. I tried calling him too. Got the same voicemail. Isaac's voice. Short and professional. Leave a message. I didn't. We stayed in the laundry corridor until 12:45. Then we went upstairs. The roof access door was closed, locked from the inside. I used my key card. It didn't work. The light blinked red. Barbara tried hers. Same thing. We took the service stairs back down. Went through the main building to the front entrance. Jennifer was there, standing near the reception desk with her phone in one hand and a clipboard in the other. She saw us, and her face went tight. Not surprised, just annoyed. "You're both still here," she said. "Isaac Guerrero was on the roof," I said. "He's not answering." Jennifer's expression didn't change. "The roof access has been locked due to the storm. Nobody should have been up there. We need to check." "The police have been notified," Jennifer said. Clipped. Fast. "Officer Guerrero didn't report for his shift. They're looking into it." Barbara stepped forward. "We were with him. He was on the roof at midnight." Jennifer looked at Barbara, then at me, then back to her clipboard. "The roof cameras were down," she said. "Power surge during the outage. There's no record of anyone accessing that area tonight." "We were there," I said. Jennifer set the clipboard on the desk, folded her hands. "I'm sure you're both very tired," she said. "It's been a difficult shift. I suggest you go home and let the authorities handle this." Barbara's hands clenched into fists. "He's missing." "The police are investigating," Jennifer said. "If you have information, you should speak to them directly." She picked up the clipboard and walked toward the elevator. Didn't look back. Barbara tried calling Isaac again. Voicemail. We waited in the lobby until 6 a.m. Isaac didn't show. At 6:30, a different cop came by. Young, maybe 25. He asked if we'd seen Isaac Guerrero. We said yes. On the roof. During the storm. The cop wrote it down. Asked what time. We said midnight. He nodded. Asked if Isaac had mentioned where he was going after his shift. "He didn't finish his shift," Barbara said. "He's still on the roof." The cop looked confused. Said they'd already checked the roof. Nobody there. "Check again," I said. He said he would. Left. They didn't find him. By morning, the story was Isaac had been responding to a storm-related call near Edie's Hook. Witnesses said they saw him near the water around midnight. The assumption was he slipped on wet rocks. Fell. They searched for 3 days. Found nothing. Barbara called me once, 2 days after, asked if I'd heard anything. I hadn't. She said she was leaving. Couldn't stay in Port Angeles anymore. Had family in Wenatchee. Inland. Away from the water and the shutdown. I asked if she wanted to meet before she left. She said no. Said it was better if we didn't. I didn't see her again. I quit the hospital 4 days after Isaac disappeared. Told Jennifer I was done. She didn't ask why. just had me sign the exit paperwork and took my key card. I packed my clothes, not much, 2 duffel bags, grabbed the No AA radio, left the rest. Drove to Seattle that night, found a sublet on Capitol Hill, studio apartment, 500 square feet. The landlord didn't ask many questions. I figured distance would help. Seattle was 2 hours away. Different city, different grid, different everything. The shutdown was a Port Angeles thing. Local, contained. I was wrong. 3 months passed. I got a job washing dishes at a bar on Pike Street. Worked nights because that's what I knew. The sleep still wasn't great, but it was better than the hospital. I didn't think about the shutdown much. Didn't let myself. On a Tuesday in June, I was in my apartment. 12:05 a.m. Couldn't sleep. Was sitting on the couch with the TV on. At 12:06, I heard clicking. Faint. Metallic. Coming from the heating vent near the floor. I stood up, walked over, pressed my ear to the vent. The clicking got louder, rhythmic, familiar. My stomach dropped. At 12:07, the lights went out. Not just my apartment, the whole building. I could see it through the window, floor by floor, lights dying in sequence. 5th, 4th, 3rd. The TV went dark. The fridge stopped humming. Outside, the streetlights stayed on. Cars kept moving. Just the building. I grabbed my phone, checked the time. 12:07 exactly. The air thinned, got colder. I stood in the middle of the room. Didn't move. Couldn't. The clicking from the vent got sharper, faster. I thought about hiding. Thought about the basement. Thought about running. Didn't do any of it. I went to the kitchen. Opened the junk drawer. Found a busted smoke detector I'd been meaning to throw out. Pried it open with a butter knife. Pulled out the metal contact strip. Sharp. Thin. Scraped it against the edge of the sink. Fast, short clicks. The clicking from the vent stopped. I ran, out the door, down the hallway, hit the stairwell and kept going. 5th floor, 4th, 3rd. The lights were out in the stairwell too, just emergency exit signs, green and dim. I kept clicking the metal strip, scraping it against the railing as I ran. Reached the basement. Maintenance door locked. I kicked it, once, twice. The frame splintered and the door swung open. Boiler room, hot, loud, pipes everywhere. I shoved a length of pipe through the door handle, wedged it against the frame. The air got thinner. I kept clicking. Steady. Rhythmic. Something moved in the ductwork. I could hear it. Not footsteps, just shifting. Bending. Distortion started spilling through the seams where ducts met the wall. Thin at first, then thicker. The emergency generator kicked in somewhere above. I could hear it trying to bring the lights back. I found the electrical panel. Gray metal box mounted on the wall. Opened it. Rows of breakers and wires. A digital control screen in the center. I smashed it with the pipe. Once, twice. Sparks flew. The screen cracked and went dark. The generator noise stopped. Total blackout. I kept clicking. The distortion kept coming. Through the ducts, through the seams. Filling the room, I checked my phone. 12:18. 1 minute left. I found the gas line. Yellow tag hanging from the valve. Warning, natural gas. Cranked it open. Heard the hiss immediately. Smelled it. Sharp and chemical. The distortion thickened. Started taking shape. I struck the pipe against the metal panel once. Hard. Sparks. The blast hit like a wall. Slammed me backward into the pipes. The door blew outward. Metal shrieked. Fire suppression system kicked in. Chemical foam dumped from the ceiling, white and thick, covered everything. The distortion stopped moving, stopped separating. Became one wavering patch. Pinned in the heat and suppressant. Couldn't move through it. Just shook there, vibrating. Wrong. I kept my eyes forward. Not on it. Just past it. At 12:19, the lights came back on upstairs. I could hear them, the hum, the buzz. Normal. The distortion pulled back, thinned, then disappeared. The foam kept falling, covered the floor, the pipes. Me. I sat there, back against the wall, breathing chemical air. Alarms started going off. Fire alarms, loud and shrill. The whole building. I could hear people above. Doors opening, voices, footsteps in the stairwell. Someone was yelling about smoke, about getting out. I didn't move. The foam stopped. The room went quiet except for the alarms. Footsteps came down the stairs, heavy, fast. Multiple people. I heard someone try the basement door. It was jammed. The pipe was still wedged through the handle. "Fire department," someone yelled. "Anyone down there?" I didn't answer. They forced the door. Took maybe 30 seconds. The pipe clattered to the floor. 3 firefighters came in. Full gear, helmets, masks. One of them saw me, came over, asked if I was hurt. I shook my head. They pulled me up, walked me out, up the stairs, through the lobby, outside. The street was full of people. Building residents in pajamas and coats. Fire trucks, flashing lights. A paramedic checked me over, asked what happened. I said I didn't know. Said I heard something and went to check, and then there was an explosion. He nodded. Didn't push it. The fire marshal came by an hour later, asked more questions. I gave the same answers. He said it looked like electrical fire. Someone had tampered with the generator panel. Probably vandalism, maybe copper thieves. They sealed the basement, yellow tape across the door. Investigation pending. I sat on the curb until 4 a.m. Then I walked back to my apartment. The lights were on. Everything worked. The heating vent was quiet. I grabbed my duffel bags, already packed from Port Angeles. Never really unpacked them. Left the keys on the counter. Didn't know where I was going. Just walked. I checked my phone 3 days later. 6 missed calls from the landlord. 2 voicemails from Seattle PD asking about the fire. I deleted them. Isaac stayed missing. Port Angeles PD closed the case after 2 months. Presumed dead. Accidental drowning. Barbara stayed gone. I tried calling her once. Number disconnected. I kept moving. Tacoma, Olympia, Portland for a while. The shutdown didn't spread beyond that Capitol Hill building. I checked. Seattle kept running at midnight. Normal. Just that one building. That one night. I still have the No AA radio. Doesn't click anymore. Just static. Sometimes I see my name in my head. Leon Foster. Try to hold on to it. Make sure it's still solid. Most days it is. Some days it feels thin, like it's starting to slip. That's how it works, I think. You push back and it learns. You run and it follows. You try to stop it and it takes something. Isaac, Barbara, Tommy. Now me. Not gone. Not yet. Just harder to remember.